What's that word, y'all? What's that word? It's your boy Marko Stats, and I'm back on YouTube with another episode of Marko Stats Reacts. Today we're going to be reacting to another hip-hop story. This story is entitled The Heartbreaking Life of Kendrick Lamar. Now, for those of you guys who know me, y'all know that Kendrick Lamar is my favorite rapper. I relate to him on a lot of different things. Good Kid, Mad City, I feel like it's my whole life. You know, growing up in Chicago, in a gangster city, and really just being an alternative kid and wanting to do the right thing and wanting to be, you know what I'm saying, righteous, but finding yourself in situations where you get caught up in it. You know what I'm saying? You get wrapped up in the streets. You get wrapped up in certain situations that you never thought that you would find yourself in. And I feel like Kendrick Lamar has always done a great job of really like picturing that, you know. And if you are a good kid in the Mad City, anywhere in America or in the world, I feel like you could relate to Kendrick Lamar. You know what I'm saying? The you know, just the dark chaos that come with the streets, and being trapped into that, knowing that your potential is way bigger than that, and trying to figure out ways how to survive it and how to get past it. Kendrick Lamar really displays that in his records, and I feel like it's powerful. But today we're gonna dive into The Heartbreaking Life of Kendrick Lamar. I know a little bit about his background growing up in Compton. His parents are from Chicago. I heard his dad was a GD, you know what I'm saying, from the Robert Taylor homes. And it's a little bit I know about his background, but I never actually seen this documentary. So we're about to watch it together. It's entitled The Heartbreaking Life of Kendrick Lamar. So let's get it.
Kendrick was walking with me. I just felt knuckles go bam. Hit me in the back of the head. Kendrick was like, hey! And he fighting with like two dudes.
I see this nigga Dave and K-Dot chasing the nigga. They jump a nigga.
He thought I was somebody else, bro. He low-key tried to press me. See, Kendrick grew up in the hood, like really grew up in the hood.
What's Kendrick's name from Westside?
The good kid in a mad city. This phrase, often used to describe Kendrick himself, paints a picture of someone surrounded by chaos, but remaining untouched by it. However, this isn't the real story. For one, the title Good Kid, Mad City isn't just about Kendrick. It represents every kid who grew up in Compton, not just those who avoided gang life, but every single child shaped by
the same shit I'm talking about, man. Shout out to Steve Lacy. They just showed Steve Lacy right here. Steve Lacy is another good kitty. I say good kitty. Steve Lacy is another good kid that's in the Mad City. You know what I'm saying? He grew up in Compton, but he was an alternative kid. He wasn't really into the gang banging as much. You know, he had his own alternative path set out, and they already starting out by mentioning some of those things I mentioned earlier. Being a good kid in the Mad City. If that's your story, you gotta relate to K-Dot, man.
Gang life, but every single child shaped by their environment.
The half of the story of kids in Compton is just basically good kids in the Mad City.
I feel that we all good kids in the Mad City. You know what I mean? It all stems from being a kid, and it's just the shit you exposed to. You know what I mean? I was exposed to it too.
No one is born evil. It's the circumstances and environments we grow up in that mold us. The album captures this universal experience, reflecting on how good people can be pushed to do terrible things. Kendrick, like many others from his neighborhood, did some of these terrible things.
I don't think they really understand the story all the way. As far as I put out there, I'm just the good kid in the Mad City. You know what I mean? I put out the positive out there, but they don't know the negatives I had to go through yet. I told them I went to school and I got straight A's, but I didn't tell them that I was out there with the streets, in the streets with the homies.
Kendrick was like supposed to be a nerd or just a regular guy, and now all of a sudden he's like a gangbanger or some shit like that. Like,
the idea that you have to actively join a gang to face violence or life-threatening situations is laughable. Even if Kendrick has never raised a flag, that wouldn't mean he wasn't deeply affected by the chaos he grew up around. We all know K-Dot grew up in a dangerous Piru neighborhood in Compton, surrounded by gang culture and violence. His father moved the family to Compton after Kendrick's mother gave him an ultimatum to leave the streets. But the city of Compton turned out to be just as dangerous as Chicago. Despite their efforts to shield Kendrick, the reality of gang life was unavoidable.
Hey kid, where the pump at, nigga? Well, let me go get that. Go get the pump. Go get the pump. It's a couple thing. It's a couple thing.
Death and loss were constants in his world. By the time he was 8 years old, he had witnessed 2 murders. And as a teenager, Kendrick felt the pull of the streets. His father, after recognizing where Kendrick was headed and seeing the kind of company he kept, had a serious conversation with him. My father said, "I don't want you to be like me." I couldn't grasp it at the time. He told me about his mistakes and warned me not to make the same ones. His father was a street dude, and now he was seeing his son heading down the same destructive path. So he tried all he could to steer his son in the right direction. But still, the pressures of the streets were too strong.
That man knew a lot, but not enough to keep me past them streets.
Kendrick, where you at?
My pops was still, you know what I mean, bumping his head too, but at the same time, he always had so much of a love for me. He'd give me the wisdom in the game to say, you know what, I did that, don't do that. And sometimes he could stop it, sometimes he couldn't, because I still had my friends surrounding me in the community.
Lil L, Kendrick's best friend since elementary school, represents the Pyru set. He became widely known after appearing in Noisy Compton. L's life has been turbulent, marked by time in and out of jail since his teens. His mother's addiction to crack during his early years left him reliant on care from others in the community. Jason Keaton is another one of his close childhood friends. He lost his mother in the 6th grade, and by the time he was 14, he was fully immersed in the Westside Pyru gang. In 2007, Jason was sentenced to 21 years in prison. After he got arrested, he asked Kendrick to look after his younger brother, Chad. Tragically, Chad was killed in a drive-by shooting in 2013, leaving Jason with immense guilt for introducing his brother to the gang lifestyle. Kendrick also felt guilty for being unable to protect Chad, as he had promised.
I felt more safer in Afghanistan than I did what I do here. It's constantly, you have to watch cars going up.
Said he feels safer in Afghanistan than he did in Compton. You know what's really interesting? I'm from the north side of Chicago, and a lot of people don't really talk about us because we don't got too many rappers. We got Young Pappy, which is my homie. We got Polo G and things like that. We don't really got an alternative rapper besides myself, you know what I'm saying? But one thing I used to tell people, I used to go out with a girl that was from the south side of Chicago, and whenever I wanted to take a break from just all of the chaos that was happening up north, I'd go out south, which kind of sounds kind of backwards because the south side is actually the most dangerous side of Chicago. So when I tell people that, they be like, what? But I literally used to get away from the north side to go to the south side to hang out with my girl, to just get away from the hood, and she over there on the south side in a whole nother hood. And it's I don't know, I just felt safer over there because I feel like nobody really knew who I was. Up north, everybody knew who I was. Everybody still knows who I am. So it's I don't feel as safe up here. I feel like I gotta, look around. I mean, it's like that everywhere in Chicago, but especially up north, just because I'm from there. And a lot of people from the south side would probably say the opposite, be like, oh man, I like to come to the north side because I feel safer, because it takes my mind off of the hood. But for me, man, it was the opposite, which is crazy.
Up and down your street, when you walk outside your house, you want to see who's out there before you step too far outside your front door now.
Chad was a really hard one for Kendrick. It was really hard for him because Chad was younger than us, like a little bro.
J-Man, another childhood friend, faced a similar fate.
My big brother was from the hood, you know what I'm saying? So his name J-Man, you know what I'm saying? A member affiliated with a known gang. He found himself going to prison for 25 years. You feel me? I ain't had no daddy or no mama at the time, you feel me? So all I had was the hood.
Some of his other childhood friends are Lil Ducky, J Real, and Yang Yang. Ducky recently just finished a 10-year prison sentence.
About that Pyru, niggas do 2 summers of participation. Bitch, I went 25 summers straight. I've been knowing this nigga Kendrick on my son life. On my son life. I've been knowing this nigga since this, nigga. Yes. On my son, nigga. Yeah. No cap, nigga.
J Real and Yang Yang are mentioned in Kendrick's song Mad City and have appeared in his music videos. However, there isn't much information about them. G-Weed is someone who he calls his big homie. He is currently doing 11 years in prison. Everyone I've mentioned so far all falls under the Westside Pyrus. Unlike his friends, Kendrick had the stability of a father who provided guidance and a mother who avoided addiction. Despite this, he didn't shy away from joining his friends in their...
That's why it's important to be inside your kid's life, I grew up without my mother. My mother passed away when I was 3. My father passed away 3 years ago, so I currently don't got my parents right now either, That's why that's why I really appreciate all of my supporters and people that really appreciate what I do, because it's not easy. You know, it's not easy coming from so much loss and chaos, and then on top of my parents dying, I lost a lot of guys to the streets. You know, just growing up in Chicago, like, so, you know, people don't realize how hard it is to go through so much loss and still come out on the other side like a beast, like a monster, like a lion, and be able to just break through stuff and still prevail and still be able to have a YouTube channel and give you guys content. You know, I could have said fuck all of this shit, you know, and could have ended this shit a long time ago, but I'm still here, you know.
The activities. They smoked, drank, committed petty and serious crimes, fought rival neighborhood kids. He was even banging the set for a time. Here's the thing about gangbanging. I was born in that area where you have to be affiliated. Gangs is my family. I grew up with them. Everything from Good Kid, Mad City actually happened to him.
Kendrick's been making Good Kid, Mad City since I known him. So for me, it was like, all those stories, it was just like, you know, finally, people get to hear the truth, you know what I'm saying?
Did you really meet a woman in a shopping center, or did that actually happen?
Yeah, definitely. It was us being depressed because something just happened to our homeboy, tragic.
Right, yeah.
And you know, when we got confronted by this lady inside of a shopping center, that was the actual moment that really transpired, you know, to me actually making a change in my life. Drinking habits.
Kendrick was just hitting that shit. Let me go back. What was this, prom or some shit?
By this lady inside of a shopping center. That was the actual moment that really transpired, you know, to me actually making a change in my life.
That was back when they was doing all those dances and shit.
You'll see one I have. Yeah. You'll see smoking habit. That was me.
You?
That the guy laced.
Oh.
Reason why I don't smoke, and it's in that album.
Well, who's the motherfucker that lace your shit?
It's in the story. Sing About Me is definitely a true song. My partner talking to me, speaking on the story how I was there, you know, when his brother passed, and I got to watch him take his last breath. Him, you know, respecting I was down for his brother no matter how much they called him a delinquent. And if I happen to pass before your album drop, I want you to tell this story. Sing about me. Make sure you sing about me. And he definitely passed too.
When he was 15, he got stomped out. And this wasn't the only time this happened. It's almost normal when you're from where he's from. For example, Kendrick has a childhood friend he started rapping with named Antonio, aka Cannon.
Do you know a guy called Cannon?
My dude Antonio.
Here's a clip of him telling a story of when he and Kendrick were attacked and had to fight a group of dudes.
We were walking to the swap meet to get some t-shirts or whatever, and these dudes were like, hey, where you from? And I just walked out. Kendrick was walking with me. And then I just felt knuckles go, bah! It hit me in the back of the head. And I'm like, I spun around and clipped him on the chin. Kendrick was like, hey! And he fighting with like two dudes. I don't know what came over us. We turned into like wild Tasmania devils or something, because we was able to beat up 4 dudes with just 2 of us, and we both short. It was the adrenaline that just had us like, y'all not about to just pick on us and beat us up. Like, nah, that's not happening.
Eventually, Kendrick started to realize how lucky he was. He had everything his friends didn't: loving and supporting parents, and a talent that could help him escape his environment. At the same time, he was also starting to see the consequences of their choices.
I was probably the only one in America with an actual active father in his life. I don't know. Well, at least in Compton. I bumped my head a few times, but what they didn't have, what I had, was somebody to say, all right, you bumped your head, now you see what happened? You in back of a police car. See what happened? You at the station.
In one interview, Kendrick recalled picking up his best friend Lil L and pleading with him to join him at the studio. But L refused, saying that he had to put in work and do his thing. Hours later, he was arrested. What struck him most was the realization that if he hadn't been in the studio, he would have definitely been with L, committing the same crime, and he'd likely have gone to jail too. From that moment on, their paths diverged. In a 2011 interview, Kendrick admitted he was almost sent to prison himself. He had been arrested and often faced dangerous encounters with police. To this day, Kendrick avoids sharing specifics about that period of his life. He knows how people fixate on negativity, and he doesn't want to glorify a lifestyle that destroyed so many of his loved ones. Instead, he's committed to being a voice of change.
You know, when you think of Compton, all you think about, you know, glorifying street violence. Me coming from the area, you know, seeing all my uncles and really seeing that lifestyle, I want to, you know, bring something different to the table.
And from Compton, I could have easily came out and said, I did this, I did that. I done killed a whole bunch of niggas. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather talk about something a little bit more deeper than that. The reasons and the problem and the solutions behind it.
He sees his role as a person who's showing a better path, even though the darkness of his past still seeps into his music and words. This is the side of himself he tries to hide from the public, the hot-headed shadow self, as his partner Dave Free calls it. In a 2022 W magazine interview, Dave reflected on the side of Kendrick. Those moments when we would get impressed, or me seeing that side of Kendrick which people don't know. I've seen that side of him where he'd be a poet in one moment, but then he'd be protecting himself or his family. Through it all, Kendrick chose to rise above. Most of his friends didn't get that chance, and that's why he refuses to romanticize the streets.
First off, RP to my nigga S Braze, my nigga Chad, and my big homie Pup. I do it for them, but that shit hurted when they took my niggas away from me, man. Shit, all of them died gunshots. You know, got killed.
This person takes somebody you love, you feel like you want to go get some revenge, you know what I'm saying? Like, seeing him battle with that on the road was, like, hard because it's, like, it was real. It's, like...
I really, like, no bullshit. I know over, like, 10 to 15 people I grew up with that died to gang violence, all on the north side of Chicago. We not even talking about the south side or the west side or the east side. We talking about up north. I know 10, 20 niggas that died up north, that got killed up north. You know, so it's just like, just imagine niggas out south and niggas on the west side and, you know, niggas that live in areas that's more dangerous than where we live at, you know. Like, you know, Chicago's so dangerous that one time somebody told me that it's so dangerous that even if the north side of Chicago broke off and it was its own city, it would still kind of be a dangerous city. Think about that. If the whole north side, RP, Uptown, like near north side where Polo G from, all the way to Rogers Park, if we was to break off and start our own city, it still would be a pretty dangerous city.
Forgiving his friend's killers was an emotional burden, made heavier by the guilt of leaving his friends that were trapped back home. His friend G-Weed was shot in the head and then right after sent to prison for 11 years. Another friend from the neighborhood, Key Richards, was killed a few years ago. He gave him a little tribute while he was performing on SNL. Because of all the people he's lost, he has made it a priority to uplift his community and give back to those he grew up with that are still around. While Jason was incarcerated, he went back to school and got a degree. He also wrote 2 books behind bars that Kendrick promoted while performing on SNL. During that same performance, he celebrated Lil L finally getting his passport, meaning he could go on tour with them. Since L has been out of prison in 2019, he's been working at PG Lang. He's also being put through school by Kendrick for an executive position that's waiting for him when he's done.
Right now, he putting me through executive school and shit. It ain't nothing to play. I gotta stay 100% focused.
Kendrick and Dave be on my ass about going to the hood, and it's like, you know, they don't want a nigga in jail, so I understand what they saying. Shit, I be in 5-star hotels with them, like, you know, going to the studios with them out of town, like, you know, certain shit that I don't broadcast because, you know.
J-Real, Ducky, and Richie also work at the company. I'm sure, like Lil L, there are plans to get them set up long-term. He's also looked out for his childhood friend J-Man's little brother Hitter, most recently putting him on GNX. He has created a supportive environment, proving that it's possible to rise above circumstances and inspire change.
There y'all have it, man. The heartbreaking life of Kendrick Lamar. Make sure that y'all like and comment on this video. What y'all think? Y'all think that Kendrick Lamar a good kid in the Mad City? Do y'all think that he's a nerd? Do y'all think that he's a killer that's cosplaying as a conscious rapper? What do y'all think? I know me personally, I relate to Kendrick. Kendrick my favorite album because, like I said, Good Kid, Mad City, that's my life. You know, I really grew up in a neighborhood that had numerous gangs beefing, and I always felt like I was in the middle of all of these gangs, and I'm like, damn, what if one day one of these gangs or all of these gangs just decide to turn on me, and they just, just out hunting me, So that one song, Mad City, if Pyrus and Crips all got along, they probably got me down at the end of this song. Seem like the whole city going against me. Every time I'm in the street, I hear, yeah, bitch. Like, that song, like, man, that song right there, man, I relate to that. It's like, if the GDs and the Vice Lords and the Moes all got along, and the Latin Kings added on to the song or some shit, like, I don't know, like, that's how it felt like for me growing up in Chicago, up north, like Uptown, Rogers Park, you know what I'm saying? Those are backyards. But yeah, man, To Pimp a Butterfly, that's my favorite album of all time. Like I said, if you know me, you know how much of a Kendrick fan I am and how much he's, just influenced my life and my music, man. It really goes a long way. But make sure that y'all click that notification bell to be notified as soon as I drop more videos. Again, it's your boy Marko Stats, aka Swayze, man. Marko Swayze, man. What you know about Marko Swayze, man? Love you guys. Till next time, Swayze. Stay good. Stay respectful. Stay amazing. Love y'all.